it is time for us to sit fireside. So today's guest started coding at the tender age of 11 as an outlet for his super creative mind. So fast forward many years later, he is a tech entrepreneur, Microsoft Imagine Cup participant, Caribbean beta winner. Ingrid, remember that one? And the CEO of GiftMe. Please, Kingston Beta, help me welcome to the fireside, Rushio Billings. All right, Billings, you can do a quick. Are you okay with me calling you Billings? I feel like everybody calls you Billings. All right, thank you for coming out. I think the only place really to start in a situation like this is at the beginning, right? So what I want to know a little bit about you, Rushio, before we start talking about GiftMe. Hold on, is the GiftMe crew in the building?
Yeah, big up the GiftMe crew.
Guys, there was a lot of excitement earlier, so I'm very surprised that they're quiet. GiftMe team. Oh, wow. You're nervous? What's happening back there? Okay. All right. Well, the team is here. The CEO is out. So tell me, Rushio, prior to this team, everything that's happening here, everything that's going on for you right now, before GiftMe, who is Rushio Billings and what were you doing?
Well, I was a complete nerd.
What?
So, yeah, I was a complete nerd, of course. So, you could say beta. All right, so I really started software engineering or programming when I was 11 years old. For me, it was an outlet because I've always been creative. I've always been an architect, and when I got into software engineering, it was really not about software engineering, but my ideas. I really wanted to make them live, and that was what I did. So in high school, we had like a group of people. Racheal, in particular, has been there since 2002. That was a very long time ago, and we had a little group, and we wrote mobile websites. So we would use tools to build mobile websites until we started getting into what you call WML, which is wireless markup language. For any software developers in the house, you probably may know that. So we started in the mobile space. I didn't know anything about web and all of that. So it was called WAP, which is Wireless Application Protocol back in the days. WAP, 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 WAP. Yeah, so that time was a very interesting time because to transition into web and what we do now was very difficult because we started in that space. So when we finally went to university, I went to Northern Caribbean University. Harry and I, we created this tool that was called WAP Create. As anything that we built in the past had WAP in there for some reason, it just had WAP in there. And that was our first project that we really focused on. And, it really got big. So it got 100,000 users signed up to it in a very short period, and about 3 million unique visits per month. So that was a very big project. At any given time, there would be like 30,000 people online. So WAP Create, the name was a tool really to allow anybody without any prior knowledge of programming to create their own mobile website free of cost. And we got signups from all over the world. At that point, we never knew anything about monetization or anything like that.
I was about to ask. I mean, it's obvious that you're being guided by, the idea of innovation and all of the creativity, but did you ever find yourself to be entrepreneurial minded? Were you ever thinking, oh, this could be a business, or is it, this is cool, let's try it out with my friends?
Yes, I've always been entrepreneurial minded. In high school, we used to burn DVDs with Nero and sell them back to other students, and also do their SBAs for them and all of that, and make money. So I've always wanted to make money. That's my thing. Don't judge me, anybody. So
there's that. Fortunately, there's no statute of limitations on something like that, so you won't get in trouble for it. So thank you for admitting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when we built this thing, the next step was to monetize it because we had to pay very high server costs. So our servers would be like, we're like 19 years old,
Right.
and our servers were like 500 US per month. And we're in university. We had no way of getting these things. So I had to find other people around the world to help me with servers. Luckily, there were forums in that time. Nothing like, and, hooked up with a bunch of people from Europe, and they actually just gave us some servers for free. And that's how we hosted our website. And then we tried to install ads on there. At that time, there was AdMob, which Google bought, but it was the way to actually put ads on your mobile websites. So we monetized a bit, but unfortunately, when you don't have moderation on these platforms like WebCreate, we didn't have very excellent moderation tools, and so a lot of people started creating porn websites on there. So think of WebCreate like a Wix. You can go on there and create your own website, but it's just a mobile website. People started doing all sorts of stuff. So the ad networks would make a lot of money, but the ad networks would ban us. We never got a payout. So really, we at that time I started doing like pitch competitions, and Caribbean Beta was my very first pitch competition in
Right.
2013.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit. You talked about Caribbean Beta. You have been a part of Imagine Cup and a few others, global contests. Why did you think it was important for you to get involved in something like that?
Well, I'm just a dominant person. I'm very competitive, so I like to enter every competition. That's just me. I would never like wear a Ronaldo shirt or anything like that. I believe that I can go there and play football myself.
Okay.
So that's just my mindset, just to be honest with you. So entering World Skills was I participated in London in the web design category, and I competed against about 50 different countries. It was a very huge thing, and I was placed fourth in the world for that. But I was never focused at that time, so I could have gotten first, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? It is what it is. All right, so super entrepreneurial minded. You're getting involved with these contests because you just want to compete. So tell me, what is it that you took from those contests that you think you were able to roll into the conceptualization of GiftMe or getting GiftMe off the ground?
All right, so the first thing I found out is that I suck at front-end development. I'm a back-end engineer. I really write a lot of the code that interacts with the database, anything that you don't see. So I had to really find partners that could actually make sense in building out user interfaces, whatever it is, for the users to see. And everybody that I worked with from many years ago, I'm still working with them today. And what I took from that was really how to build actual products. So I tried to build as many products over the years as possible, and then to gain industry knowledge across the spectrum. Any industry you can talk about, I can talk about it, from finance to industrial to whatever industry you want to talk about. I can talk about it like I'm a professional in that industry, right? And so it gave me the knowledge to see the insights of what is happening inefficiently in any one of these companies. And so bringing all of those experiences to GiftMe would have enabled us to make a better experience, a better product than that anybody else is thinking about.
All right, so before we start talking about GiftMe and its efficiencies, let's talk about how you even got to the idea of GiftMe. You said you've played around in different industries, you've tried out different applications, different businesses. How did you come up with the idea of GiftMe, and why did you decide to run with that rather than all of the others that maybe you had tried out before?
Okay, so I played around in the space of software development and just building companies and whatever. And I started off in the blockchain space. So in 2014, 15, I built the first mobile blockchain wallet. It was called Callaghan and Senate at that time. So at that time, I think Bitcoin was at like $90 when I started playing around with Bitcoin. So I should really be rich today, but I dropped the bag. So sorry about that, guys. So after that period, I actually was living in Kingston for a while. Then I moved back to Mandeville, because originally I'm from St. Elizabeth. I went to school in Mandeville and I stayed there, right? And so when I moved back there, I really got really fat. So I took some time off, tried to go to the gym, became a Jimmy, right? And after that period, I decided to go back into entrepreneurship. Started freelancing, building a bunch of software in the shipping space. Started building a bunch of software in loan origination space, banking software. Came up with this grand idea to start a workforce management software. Didn't know how to sell it because it was a SaaS. Came to Kingston to find somebody to sell it. Phoned somebody. We ended up not selling that, but we became an agency. Started building software in Kingston for like the brokerage houses, for it's banking space. So banking, loan origination, brokerage software, all of those kind of things. So if you notably know like IPO Pro and Sagicor Invest, we built those software. So we have the knowledge in the banking space, a lot of knowledge in that space. What basically took me to build GiftMe is I was in the United States. I was walking through a mall, shopping, right? And I saw this physical gift card on one of those stalls that is usually in the center of the mall, those little cubicles thing like, and I was like, what is this? I've never seen this before. So it was a little thing that had like a barcode or a QR code on it, and you could literally buy it, give it to somebody else, and then they could go there and redeem it for some good or service, right? And I don't know, but for some reason, when I went home, I could not sleep that night. It just kept bothering me, and I was like, there's nothing like this. If I wanted to give somebody back home, I could not give somebody something like this, right? And the idea came to me that, I need to actually build this thing. I can build this thing for Jamaica. There's nothing like this in Jamaica. And I said I will not make it physical. I will make it a digital gift card. And that's essentially how the idea came to me.
Okay, so what was the next step? I mean, you've said you've seen it in the international market. There's nothing here like it to pretty much compare it to. What's your next step? Okay, I'm going to build it. You can 100% build it. What next? How did you test the market with the idea?
Well,
did you test them?
Yeah, so this is advice to myself at the time, and advice to anybody that's listening is the first thing I did was to go on Google, and this is very easy. What is the gift card? The digital gift card market size. That's the first thing. I think it's an $850 billion business, growing at 19% CAGR per year. And those are the basic things that you need to understand first. As a regular software engineer would not know to go do that, but because I've been in business already, then I understand what I need to do firstly when you have an idea. So an idea should always be for an existing audience, right? So you're making whatever product or service in that audience. You're basically making better, efficient, saving people time or saving them money. And so the audience already existed, really. And the initial target market for me was for people in the diaspora sending back some sort of gift, and they wanted, I wanted to make it easy for them to send it back to Jamaica. That's how it initially started.
All right, so I feel like I still haven't heard. How did you do that actual did you reach out to a couple people in the diaspora and say, hey, I'm doing this thing? Did you build it out first and invited a few people to try it out? How did you go about doing that exactly?
Yeah, so that's a very, very easy question to answer. So what happened is that the first thing is I always think about the team firstly. If I know I'm going to build something, so I called up all the people that I know and I say, I'm going to build this thing. I would want you to do this and do that. So when I came up with the idea originally, I asked Racheal Thomas, who is my co-founder. He's here. So a bunch of my co-founders are here. So I asked Racheal Thomas to basically pick me up from the airport. I said, bro, I have this very cool idea. Didn't even want to tell him about it until I actually reached back to Jamaica. And luckily, he wasn't doing anything at the time. So Racheal is the best CEO in the whole world. Yeah, so he's very great at sales, and I know he could. I just saw his talent, and I just knew at the time that he could actually sell this thing easily. And so Racheal and Racheal, I spoke to them, and Nicholas, Matthew, who is not here, and I got together with them in a meeting. I said, we're going to build this thing. It took us about 2 weeks to build the MVP. And initially, it wasn't a marketplace. It was really a SaaS that any merchant or vendor could get their own, gift card sales landing page kind of thing, and they could add it to their Instagram bio or wherever they wanted to add it. So we wanted to make it really unique to each. So they could upload their logo, list their items for sale, give it some description, an amount, etc. Racheal just went hunting immediately, right? And he got our first merchant. I think our first merchant was Gold Mall Jewelers. And so we asked the owner for that store to actually put on their their gift cards and everything and list it in their Instagram bio. They had like a lot of followers on their Instagram page, and organically we saw like orders started coming in, and we're like, wow! In the first week, we got orders and multiple orders. Even though some of them were like from scammers and all of that, it was still orders. It was still validation for the product, right? So so imagine not doing anything. So we didn't even have to lift a finger, but we were making money. Because how we make money is we take a percentage of all gift cards that are sold, right? And the benefit to the merchant, where our value proposition came in, was that you'd get all these cash flow upfront, and you don't need to redeem that card right now.
Right.
So even we have lots of merchants who have expired gift cards, and they already have that money. They don't need to redeem them anymore because that's in their terms of service, right? It's a
Right.
part of just how gift cards work,
Right.
right? So essentially after that, we just started getting a lot more merchants, right? And we're like, yo, there's no interest from corporates. Corporates want to buy gift cards. And so we had to solve what you call the chicken and egg problem, and that's one of the most difficult problems in entrepreneurship to solve, is what the demand side and the supply side is like, right? And if you don't have any demand, then the supply is not going to want to supply anything. If you don't have supply and you have demand, then that doesn't make any sense either, right? So we had to solve a problem. It was very difficult, and I must commend the team, Rashidi, for executing very well on that, because initially it was one merchant, and now we're at 200 merchants, right? And some of the largest ones too in the country.
Right. Okay. So, I know you've said it really didn't cost you anything. Somebody exclaimed when you said it took you 2 weeks to build out the MVP. I mean, a lot of time and effort goes into that, and time is one of the most expensive resources. But before we go into the funding aspect of things, because I mean, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense, right? Let's talk a little bit about the fact that you chose to launch May 2021 in the heights of COVID. Uncertain market, you're launching a tech-based product, and we know that the issues that we have with internet and connectivity island-wide. Like, how did you make that decision that, you know what, we're ready, we're going to run it, regardless of what's happening right now in the environment, we're ready to go?
Well, I think firstly, I approached everything from making a bet. I think it was a bet that we were willing to make. And so it was COVID, middle of COVID, Even Rashidi had to have his mask on every time he was running around getting merchants, So it was difficult really talking to people and all of that. So, but there was one thing that kind of pushed us to really grow, and that is the contactless environment that COVID had made us become like it really, there was nobody wanted to talk to anybody. People wanted to meet. And now we created this thing that you didn't have to have anything physical. It was literally just show your phone, you scan, you're done, right? So I think that kind of pushed us to really grow, and COVID actually made it better for us, not worse.
Wow, interesting. All right. So you managed to ride that COVID wave, and it was actually to the best of your ability. I love that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the bag, the money. So like I said, you said it took you and your team 2 weeks to build out your MVP. I'm sure there are other things that you could be doing with your time. So how were you guys sustaining yourselves? Like, what was that process? Were you bootstrapping? Did you have somebody who liked the idea and wanted to pay for it? What was the situation there?
All right. So initially when we started, it was bootstrapping. So we invested our own money in registering the business, and we had a little bit of money from previous projects that we would have done. So we didn't need any money at the start, right? So we said we're going to bootstrap. We're going to try to get as much traction as possible, because it wasn't my first rodeo. Understanding that investors like to see not features on your pitch deck, but they like to see what the pitch deck, the results that the pitch deck would produce, right? People, they can imagine what the future looks like, and they would invest at that point. So I decided to get a lot of traction first before we did anything, any raising rounds or anything like that.
So when did you decide that, okay, we need to start getting some external capital, we need to start getting some additional money to grow? What was that point?
Yeah, so I realized that, a lot of things, even though we're good at product development, software engineering, that's our strong suit, we're not good at marketing, so we needed marketing capital. And we also we also needed capital to hire other developers to focus on building out the product. And so that's one of the nuances of software engineer and building a software product in the tech world, is that you don't really make any money upfront immediately. You have to you literally have to focus on building the product first. And then in the world where you have so many mature products, is that you can't come with the regular Eric Ries kind of MVP anymore, where it's just, you have to come with like a stable product in order to make anything. And so we decided to raise funds, but not traditionally. How we decided to do it was to use a PR kind of perspective. So we did a whole bunch of things in the Observer and talked about what we had achieved already and all of that. And our first round of funding was actually inbound. We never had to pitch for it. And so, I was there. We just got a phone call from an investor. And he was very much interested in closing the deal right now. Very smart guy.
Okay, the money is coming to you clearly, but we know that not all money sometimes can be good money, right? So how did you make that decision? You have somebody here saying, here's a bag, do what you like with it, and making that decision that you're going to accept that money from that person because it would come with certain expectations or certain ties. How do you feel like you made that decision to accept that partnership?
All right. So, when you're raising money, you have to sit with your team and really ask yourself what you're raising the money for. Why you need the money? Do you need strategic money, or do you just need money? All right. At that point, we only needed money. All right. If it came with a little bit of strategy, strategic investor kind of thing, we'd be glad also. So when we raised the round, we had multiple meetings, multiple lunches with this gentleman, and we negotiated on a good valuation. And before we even signed anything, he wired the money to us. It was literally several months after he even signed a paper, a shareholders agreement. And I think because our deck was so compelling and we had revenue, we had the numbers and all of that, anybody would have taken it at that point. Because when I came up with the idea, firstly, I had spoken to a few people that I know that invest in things, and they said that it's a stupid idea. Yeah, I will not call names, but yeah. So I'm happy that those people never invested anyway, so it's good for us.
A round of applause from the church in the back. Okay, so he wired the money before he signed a paper. Feel like I heard a collective gasp from the audience. I gasped as well. But so tell me, did you feel any kind of additional pressure? Now that you've taken this person's money, you have, essentially locked yourself into this relationship for whatever the time period was. Did you feel like you and your team had any additional pressure because now it's not just you guys, and it's not just fun, and it's not just when we're ready we could pack up if we didn't want to. Now this is somebody else's money is involved.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So essentially what you want to do is you want to, already I said, talk about investor that you want. So we wanted an inactive investor. We didn't want somebody that's active in the business. And the individual is a minority shareholder, right? And so that was very good for us. But what also came with it was he was very well known, right, connected in the space. So he introduced us to a lot of the corporates and some of our merchants that we actually have today. And he had a lot of real estate. So when we wanted stuff like billboards, billboards that you see, we don't really pay for them, right? They're just there, right? So that is very strategic for us, right? And so that is good on his part. We can call him anytime, and he would just he knows everybody. It's one of those persons in Jamaica who just happen to know everybody. So that was very good for us, along with the capital, of course.
All right, so you went in for the cash and you also got strategy. So you got a lot of bang for your buck. So I know that your first investor was local. You have one more investor that is, I understand, international, correct? Did you feel like there was a difference between forming that relationship with the local investor, even though it was inbound, and the secondary investor that came from across borders? Was there a difference in that experience?
Well, the good thing about that second investor is that I was also inbound. Right, so it's a good thing to have, right? And so once you have a good investor, what you start to create is what you call an investor profile. So once you have an investor profile, you know that you will not go with any other investor, right? So our investor profile basically matched the second investor, and it just worked out for us.
All right. So, I mean, we've almost run out of our 30 minutes. Can you believe it? But I really want to know on the point of funding, is there anything that you know right now that you would have wished that you had known when you probably got that first inbound investment? Is there anything that stands out for you that you're like, I should have done this first, or I should have considered this first?
Well, if you really think about it, you could say things to yourself like, "I wish I waited a bit longer. We could build up a better valuation. You could have gotten more money and all of that." But for us, that scenario was really perfect. So I don't think I have anything in my mind right now that I could say that it was bad about that experience at all.
All right, so maybe not bad, but I'm sure the audience will have some questions for you when it comes to funding, right, audience? Oh my God, wow. I feel like you've answered all of their questions, it seems. All right, so, I mean, we're coming to the end of our 30 minutes here together. We have seen where you're coming from. We see where you are at right now with GiftMe. I want to know the GiftMe that you have today, that you are operating today, how close is it to the vision that you had for it when you just started out with your team? When you hopped off of that plane and you were like, Rashidi, I want to do this thing. How close is what you're doing today to that concept?
So the first thing is that I'm more excited about GiftMe today than obviously I was excited to build this product, right? But the product has changed, but not the vision, right? So the vision is always to basically build this platform that thousands of people use, and we're there now. Not at the millions yet, but thousands of people do use it. And so, but the product is very different. So when we started off, it was a complete SaaS. So a SaaS, for anybody that doesn't know, is a software as a service. It means that you rent a tenant on the software and you pay a monthly subscription like Netflix, right? And so pretty much that was what it was initially. And then we decided to make it like a directory, or what you call a marketplace, right? So we would put all the vendors in one place. You could go in there and select and search and all of that. And we saw that that worked better. Did a bit of search and optimization, kind of build also a marketplace for corporate. So we have a corporate portal with over 60 corporate companies. The biggest names you can think of in Kingston use us to buy thousands of gift cards every day for their staff, right? For employee engagement and incentive programs and all of that. And we've sold, I think it's above 30,000 gift cards to date, I think. And we're only 1 year old. So just imagine what the future holds. The second thing is that, thank you. The second thing is that the merchants that we have are very happy with us. We haven't had a merchant that has delisted or said that our service, we have had merchants who migrated from inferior services to us because we're superior, of course. And yeah, and so what we provide for them is the access to cash flow and revenue that they would have otherwise not have. And we have had merchants who've said that your GiftMe is so great. We've had merchants, small merchants, that have made over $10 million already from GiftMe. So pretty much, I think that's a good thing that we're doing.
So where do you see yourself? You're 1 year old, as you said. Another year from now, another 3 years, another 5 years?
So let's say 5 years,
Yeah. If we're sitting here again 5 years, like, what does that look like for you and your team?
Well, I would say minimum a $200 million valuation business. Realistically, could be way more, like a unicorn or something. I can see us in, because we're agnostic of any one country. I could see us in other countries very soon. That's going to happen very soon either way. But short term, not sure if you all see the GiftMe game posters on the tables. So that's a product. It might be buggy now, but that's a product that we launched today. And essentially what it is, it's employee engagement infrastructure that will allow corporate companies to, create games and, play with their staff. And then automatically they would issue gift cards that they can use in the real world to purchase things from a supermarket, to pay bills, where we are integrated into Bill Express. So you can now use GiftMe to pay bills. So that's a big thing for us. We just launched a similar thing to what you call a quick voucher from the US. We're launching that tomorrow. So what will allow you to do is similar to Cash App, just send a voucher for KFC or whatever in a couple of seconds, right? So let's say my girlfriend is in a line of KFC and she asked me for like 20 US dollars or whatever it is. I could just send it immediately. And it will not come with the whole adding an artwork kind of message to say, hey, I love you, it's your birthday and whatever. So that's the difference between what we're launching now and what a gift card is, And so we're working on some really amazing things that I can't really speak of everything now, but you will see them because remember we're one of the 22 companies to watch in 2022, right?
Isn't he so casual? He's just like, we launched it today and then we're launching another thing tomorrow. Amazing. All right, so 2 more questions for you. I want you to brag a little bit. Tell me, what do you feel like throughout your entire journey? What has been the greatest success for you? Your greatest pride point? What do you think is that thing that stands out for you where you're like, yeah, I'm proud of that?
Well, that's the most difficult question you've asked today. But I would say that, that essentially is, I think I've grown as a leader. All right. Usually I would just write a lot of code. I still write code now, but leading a team and actually doing things like this, I think I've really gotten better at interviews and also, I would say building a great infrastructure that I see thousands of people use every day is also a big thing for me because I've always wanted to build a platform, not necessarily exchanging hours for money. So right now there might be people that are on GiftMe purchasing gift cards, and every time they purchase a gift card, we make money, right? So it's money. It's very important, and I think that is it.
All right.
There's no profound thing that I'm gonna say like wow and all of that.
So the final thing for you, you mentioned that people might be in the crowd right now buying gift cards. We hope that is what's happening back there. But for someone who is currently sitting in this crowd, maybe they have a concept in mind, maybe they have a business they're playing around with, and they want to be in the position that you are in right now, right? What kind of advice, what's one thing, I know you have a lot of things that you could share, but what's one thing you'd want them to walk away from this session with?
Well, I have the framework for it. So if you want it, you can ask me after. I can tell you exactly how to build a great product, right? So essentially, over the years, I figured it out. You really want to find product market fit first. I can't tell you anything else. Product market fit, find an audience that already exists. Don't try to create an audience or create things for yourself. Go do some surveys, some research, talk to a lot of people, see if people are willing to, what people are willing to pay, and if they're willing to pay, let them send you the money now, send them a Stripe link or something like that. Once you found out that people are actually willing to pay, then you know that if 1 is willing, then 10 is willing. And I think if you find about 10 or 20 customers, then I think you found product market fit. Watch your churn. Watch how often they actually use your product. Create an MVP really quickly. There's a lot of no-code tools nowadays like Bubble, big up Steven, Bubble Master. You have Webflow. You have so many tools nowadays that you don't even need as a non-technical founder. You can use it to build your apps and your products and see if you can find validation as quick as possible. Investors don't like to see projections only. They like to see traction. And so you have to get traction first before you can even approach an investor. So I would say, bootstrap first, do a family and friend round, get a few $1,000s, and just start your business. Validation first, investor last. The aim is to make money with a business, not to kumbaya or social, this and that, blah, blah, blah.
And on that note, thank you so much for your time. Can we have a round of applause for Racheal Billings? Thank you, Rushio. But before you go, we have 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to open up the floor. If you have any questions for Rushio, now is your time. I know you'll have an opportunity to speak to him during the mingle, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of people. So if you have a question right now, we'll have a roving mic. Just raise your hands. All right, we have one there in the back. Hi, just say your name and ask your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Williams. So, question for Rushio. Do you think one day you'll ever list Give Me on the Jamaica Stock Exchange?
That's a very good question. So we have this big argument inside the business. So one side of the business wants to list maybe in the future, and the other side is like, the valuation is too low on the junior stock exchange, and we can raise like 20 million US dollars, like in Miami or somewhere like that, and have a bigger valuation, something like 200, 100 million dollars. And so it's I can't really say for sure, but the tax incentive, that is a great thing, and we're thinking about it. It depends on what happens over the next few years. So we'll definitely let you know.
Okay, thank you. Question answered.
All right. Anybody else with any questions for Rushio? I don't have glasses on, so please raise your hand high. Yes? There you go.
Hello, I want to appreciate you coming on and share experience. One question I have is you mentioned a part where you said that of course you were working on a workplace management software,
Yes.
and you said that a SaaS software and the business development, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of tricky for you.
Yeah.
I'm interested in SaaS, especially business to business, right? I want to know what did you learn from that experience, right? That made you realize, this is probably not it.
Yeah. So I mean, so workforce management software is a B2B product, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit tricky. It's a bit different from what you would do with a B2C product, right? So I think the mistake that we made early with that product was trying to sell it in Jamaica, right? So it was a US based company, by the way. So it was registered with Stripe Atlas. So if you really want to get a company started quickly, you can use Stripe Atlas really fast, right? And so what we did was to go around and try to sell it locally. You're not going to make any money like that. What we should have done was launch it on Product Hunt, do like Reddit, different blogs and so forth, and maybe just put a few $100s in B2B ads, learn what B2B ads are through Facebook, because all small businesses are there, right? That's what we should have done. So you have to think about who you market, who you're marketing to, right, and not sell to the wrong people. And I think that's the biggest mistake that we made with that product.
Okay, a follow-up question. Is it that you said that, is there something about the Jamaican market that you just, you can't make any money off of them, right? Is that they're not willing to pay or something like that?
Actually, I don't think it's, no, they are willing to pay. It's just that if your value proposition is strong enough.
Oh.
And you also have to find the niches that are willing to pay. We find that corporates are actually willing to pay the most because they have the most money. Some small businesses are struggling, and you don't want to be selling to struggling businesses. And it's also the market size is very small. So if you have a B2B software that can be sold anywhere in the world, you would want to go where the market size is very expansive. There's a lot of companies that will actually take your product, and it won't hurt your credit card or their pockets really. And so it's, let's say 1,000 people, 1,000 companies are in Jamaica. There's 100 million of them somewhere else. You get me? So you want to figure out where your market is first when you're creating B2B, if it is B2B that you're talking about.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. I understand what you're saying.
All right. Thank you so much. Any more questions?
Yeah. So for Richard Bowen.
Good to meet you.
All right. So for you say you registered the company abroad. You registered the company abroad, right? You still registered abroad?
Yeah. So for GiftMe, we have a hybrid model.
Hybrid model.
Yeah.
So how do you handle or how did you register? Which state did you register it in, and how did the tax thing work? How does the tax thing work?
Well, so there are. That's a question for a tax advisor. But
No, I know.
I wouldn't say exactly how we do it, but there are many ways to do it. So, essentially, if you're doing it, a company in Jamaica and you have a U.S. company, it's almost as if the U.S. company is like a proxy, right? So, the Jamaican company is the operating business. U.S. companies are proxy, and then you want to figure out how you do your kind of what you call a management structure, which company is managing what. which is a primary company, and how the money moves back and forth. Because you have a tax treaty between Jamaica and the U.S., so you have to take all those things into consideration. But you do have to file taxes both places, even if you're filing nil anywhere, either place. So I mean, I would take advice from a tax advisor about going about your particular business, and I wouldn't necessarily want to talk about how we exactly do ours on this podcast. I hope that answers your question.
Hey, Rushio, you have GiftMe, and would you say, if somebody was to say GiftMe pretty much is a fintech company that just happens to have a gift card as a product, how would you respond to that?
It is a fintech company that has gift card as a product. So, I mean, quick story. The gift cards that you see now, they're essentially what we call our acquisition strategy. So GiftMe is more than just gift cards. So we found out that we could get all the merchants really fast if we offered gift cards. But it has evolved to more than just gift cards, and it is essentially a fintech product. Because you can literally use it to pay for things. It's almost as if you're spending on a debit card, really, yeah.
We have one more question in the back. Based on the time, we'll take 2 more questions. You have one as well? Let's go to him and then I'll come to you. All right?
Huh? Greetings and salutations, sir. So, moving out of the pandemic era, I think, especially for startups, it's hard to build culture through a computer screen, right? At least in my opinion. How difficult is it actually to build a culture or build a company dynamic that actually attracts the talent that you actually want? Moving from this phase where people are coming from remote work and probably coming back into the office.
All right, that's a great question. So what you want to look at when you're hiring, firstly, so you want to really analyze what your culture already is, and you also want to hire people that fit your culture. If you do the opposite, you're going to run into problems. Trust me, I've seen it. And so essentially we're fully remote. We don't have an office space. And luckily, everybody that I worked with early, I already worked with them before. So it made everything easier. But when we started hiring other people, we had to really sit and create a profile of individuals that we wanted to hire, right? And what we do now is to have monthly meetups in person, that we could get to know each other, have drinks, and be social other than business. And we realized that has worked for us. We're still really young. We're only 11 people strong. And so we haven't figured it all out yet. But, once we're 5 years in, I'll come back and talk about the culture thing. And I hope our startup is not on the internet about people leaving because they want to talk politics in the business and not want to work. But yeah, I hope that's not a thing.
All right, so my question is around international expansion. So you mentioned the fact that this business kind of emerged because there was a niche area in Jamaica, right? I was thinking if you have any plans to expand. Well, you mentioned plans to expand internationally, but I wanted to get an idea as to which markets you're looking at. What comes to mind for me would be emerging market economies that have a developing tech space, probably like Latin America and East Africa or some other African countries that are doing pretty well right now. Do you have any markets in mind?
So let me give you an insight. I won't say what the market is because, that's our juice. So let's just think about this scenario. We have a particular customer, 70% of the gift cards that are bought are from some foreign country, right? So already we're operating within those markets. So the thing is that a particular customer sends 7 crib or a GiftMe smart card every day to an individual who then redeems that on 7 crib for food every day. The customer who buys the gift card lives in Canada. So if that is guiding you to where we're actually going, then hope you figure it out.
All right. Any more questions? Going once. This is our last question of the night.
Greetings, Rushio.
Good to meet you.
Andre Milud here. So I have a bit of a marketing question, and I was wondering, I see the product I pay attention to a lot of the brands, digital brands overseas. Is there any plans to do anything like an affiliate program where persons who have an audience online could promote and then earn?
That it's so funny that we actually have a product that is specced out and everything, that is essentially what you're talking about, an affiliate program where influencers and all of that could get like a link or their own page and promote it, and whichever car that is sold, they get a portion of the profits then, per se. But we haven't really, put a timeline to it when we're going to launch it, or even if we're going to launch it. So, one of the most important thing is focus. So, we haven't made enough money yet out of what we're actually building now, and the market for it is really huge. And I think only 1% of Jamaica knows about GiftMe, and so we need to have that at least, 50%, 100%, And we need to go into other markets with the core product first and make some money, become really profitable, and then we'll focus on going into verticals.
All right, thank you very much. That is it for our Q&A. I know Rushio will be open to answering any additional questions that you may have, bringing your attention once again to the corporate game card on your tables. I believe if you play it, you win, right?
Yeah, so what will happen if you
try and
if you open the link, you'll see what the prizes are at the bottom of the page, and then you can enter your name and your email address and play. There might be some bugs in there. If it just stops on you suddenly, I don't know, I can't help you. So
it launched today, guys. It launched today, right?
So once you're in and you hit the leaderboard button, you'll see who's at the top. That person will get the first place prize. So yeah, I think there are like 30 people already competing. So I'm, whatever.
Right, I have somebody from the audience asking Tajay Thompson to show themselves. Tajay is already at the top of the leaderboard. Yes, all right. So thank you so much, Racheal. Can we have a round of applause for Racheal, guys? All right, it has been an absolute pleasure to have hosted you, Racheal. Kingston Beta, it's been a pleasure. My name is Racheal Callaghan. I will return control to Jermaine Henry of Norris.